Now, before we get into the code, why don't we try visualizing what exactly an array is? So in this example, I'm going to be using a shoebox. So in a shoe rack, what you usually put is shoes, right? You'd put your Yeezys over here, you'd put your Ultra Boosts, you'd put your little hunter boots, you know, if you're going out in the wild, and you'd have your other pairs of shoes. So this is really a way of storing a whole bunch of shoes, and that's really what an array does. It's a way of storing a whole bunch of same type of variables in Java. So an array, unlike shoe racks, has something a little bit different in that it has little indexes, right? These are little indexes that are bracketed within every array. So this whole thing would be considered as an array, but each array has one of these indexes within them. So this is how Java sort of in some ways mimics, right, our shoebox over here, in that, you know, your shoes are going to be your indexes and that shoebox is going to be that entire array. Now that we have an idea of what exactly an array is, and that, you know, it's a way of storing a whole bunch of data as one little package, let's go on to how you initialize an array. Now for an array, there are really two things that are quite essential. The first one is going to be your data type, and the second one is going to be your length, because both of those things are going to be set once you've created that array. So if you want to initialize an array, what you want to do first is set the data type. So in this case, why don't we set a data type of a integer, right? So you can say integer or double or long or float or whatever you'd like, or you can even say string, but you'd always want to specify what data type it's going to be, right? You'd always want to know whether it's going to be a shoe rack or like a clothing rack or whatever it may be. Now after you've done that, you'd want to put these two little brackets indicating that it's going to be an array, and after that you'd want to have your name. I'm going to call this array age, and then you can actually set the length of the array. So for that you'd want to say new data type, which is int, and then the array length, which is going to be basically how many of these little indexes are you going to have in your array, which is, let's say, 5, right? So we're going to have the ages of 5 different people in this one array that I've created. Now you may be thinking this all looks fine and dandy because we've created an array with the length of 5, specified what kind of data type it takes in, so this all seems to work, right? But really we've not done much to this array, right? We've just made these 5 little indexes in the array, but that's all really. We haven't really set any kind of values to them or anything like that. So the question may come up, what is exactly stored in these arrays at first? Well, for that is actually going to be quite a simple answer. If it's a integer type or any kind of numeric type, it's usually going to be set to 0. So because we have integers, it's going to be set to 0. If it was a double, it would be set to 0.0, or if it's a string, it'll just be beginning quotes and end quotes with no space in between. So you may be thinking, well, it's nice that we have these set to 0, but that's not really what I want, right? I want to store the ages of different people, and nobody's just 0 years old. So for that, what you'd want to do is assign values to these indexes. For that, what you want to do is call the array name. Now this one's going to be called age, right? And then you'd want to call the index number. Now the index number is really going to be the position of that index within the array. And one more thing you'd want to note is that in Java, indexes start from 0, right? They start counting from 0. So this index is going to be taking the 0th position. This index is going to be the first position. This is going to be the second. This is third. And then this is fourth. So we're going to have 5 of these indexes, but they're going to start with 0, ending with the last number of 4. So if you were looking for the position of these indexes, it's always going to be 1 less than what they originally are if we count from 1 onwards. Now if you want to change the first index's value from 0 to like 15, what you'd want to do, like I just said before, is call the name of the array and then put 2 little brackets in which you'll actually put the index position. Now the first one is going to be called the 0th position, so you'd want to put 0, and then you'd want to assign a value, right? Let's say we're going to call this 15, meaning that the first person in this index, or the first value, right, if we redo it, it's going to say 15, and then it's going to say 0, 0, 0, 0, because those have not been changed yet. Now why don't we head on to the computer and plug this in and see what happens. Okay, now we're back in Java here. I have my age array here of int type, and I've set the length of it to be 5 indexes within that, and we have also set index number 0 to 15. The age and index number 0, or our first little place, is going to be set to 15. So if we ask Java to print out what's going to be in age 0, what it's going to print out is going to be 15 because, well, it holds 15. So now that we're done with the initialization and the assigning of, I guess, values to each of these positions, why don't I finish this table out and fill out all of these indexes. Alright, here I have filled out all of the indexes of our age array. The index of 0 is set to 15 as we know right now, 1 is going to be set to 17, 2 is going to be 14, 3 is going to be 13, 4 is going to be 18. So in a way, we're trying to represent the ages of, these 5 different people in this array. Now, we could do quite a bit with these arrays, right? But why don't we first try with something a little bit simple? Why don't we try averaging the ages of these 5 different people? So you'd want to have a variable called like total so that you can add up all of these numbers into it. And then you'd want to divide it by the number of indexes that we have so that we can get our average. So in this case, we're going to be adding 15, 17, 14, 13, and 18, and then dividing it by 5. Now, we don't want to do that math out, so why don't we write a for loop? Now, in this case, I'm actually not going to be writing a for loop. I'm going to be writing what is called a for each loop. So a for each loop is slightly different from a for loop, and it's actually quite a bit simpler to do. Why don't we start off with the total count value, right, where we add up all the different values. So I'll call this double total and set it to 0 for now. And let's go on with our for each loop. Now, the reason why I'm using a for each loop, if you don't know what it exactly is right now, is that it is really an easy way of accessing elements of an array without replacing or removing any of those parts, right? If you just want to access them and use them like that, then it's actually much easier and much more efficient to use a for each loop. Now, if you don't know how to exactly write a for each loop, you may be wondering, how the heck do I write this? And it's actually quite a bit simpler than just a normal for loop. So what you want to do is write for, because, well, it is a for loop. And then you want to indicate your data type. Now, in this case, the data type is going to be integer data type, of our array at least. And then you'd want to call a variable name. Let's just call this x, right? Just the way we do with normal for loops. And then you'd want to specify which array you're pulling from. Now, the one that we're pulling from is going to be the age array. So we want to just write age in here. So this is going to be specifying what type of variable is going to be in each one of these indexes. Now, we know this is going to be int variables because we have just whole numbers here. We're going to call that x. It's going to iterate through this when we run this for loop. And then we also specify what our array is going to be. So now we can start off with these little brackets here. And within this, what we can do is we can just say total equals total plus x. So when we run this for loop, what it's going to be doing is that it's going to be picking up every single element, right? These are the elements of the array. It's going to be picking up every single one of these elements and then adding it to total. So why don't we have a print statement outside over here so that we can see what that total value is going to be. So why don't we run it and see what happens. So it's saying that the total is going to be 77.00. Now, if you do the math here and add it all up, it is actually going to come to 77. So this is actually working. Now, it's all fine and dandy that we've found the total, but if we're really trying to find the average, what we want to do is divide it by the total number of indexes that we have. Now, to do that, what we want to do is use a method. This method is going to be called, let's just comment here. This method is going to be called arrayname.length. Now, I would assume that you know how to infer from this what it exactly does, and what it really does is that it gives you back the length of the array. So in the case of the array age, it is going to be the length of 5. So we're going to be dividing by 5 when we do the math out. So why don't we create a new variable called avg, double avg, and set it equal to total, right, divided by age dot length, because this is going to be dividing it by the length of age, which will give us the average. So why don't we print this out so that we can see what exactly has happened. So let's run it, and there we go. We have the average of 15.4. So the average age between these 5 people is going to be 15.4 because we have done the code here to find the average. Now, you may be wondering, what if we want to change the elements, right? What if we want to change 15 to 16, 17 to 18 or something like that? What if we want to do that? Now, this is the end of part 1 for the arrays video. I didn't want to make this video too long, so there's going to be a part 2 of it where I talk about 2-dimensional arrays and a whole bunch of other methods. If you want to go and click there, go through there and continue watching. If you like this video, feel free to hit the thumbs up button. If you have any questions, put those in the comment section below, and hit that subscribe button because those videos are coming out. With that, I'll see you guys in the next one.